What if I told you that one of the world's biggest brands didn't start in a fancy office or with millions of dollars? It started with one man, a simple idea, and a car trunk full of shoes. This is the untold story of Nike. In the early 1960s, the sports shoe market was dominated by Adidas and Puma. Their shoes were famous, but they were also expensive. Most American runners had very few affordable choices. A young runner named Phil Knight believed there had to be a better way. While studying business at Stanford University, he came up with an idea. Instead of making shoes in America, why not manufacture a high-quality running shoes in Japan and sell them at lower prices in the United States? It sounded like a risky plan, but Phil believed in it. In 1962, he traveled to Japan and met the executives of Onitsuka Tiger, a company now known as ASICS. Even though he didn't own a real business, Phil confidently introduced himself as an American distributor. To his surprise, they agreed. When he returned home, Phil partnered with his former track coach, Bill Bowerman. Bowerman wasn't interested in becoming rich. His passion was helping athletes perform better. Together, they started a small company called Blue Ribbon Sports. They had no large office, no famous brand, and almost no money. Phil sold running shoes from the trunk of his car, driving from one track event to another. He spoke directly with runners, listened to their complaints, and noted every suggestion. Every conversation helped them improve. While Phil handled sales, Bowerman focused on designing better shoes. He believed running shoes should be lighter, faster, and more comfortable. One morning, while eating breakfast, Bowerman looked at the pattern on his family's waffle iron. Suddenly, an idea came to his mind. What if the bottom of a running shoe had the same pattern? Without wasting time, he poured melted rubber into the waffle iron. The experiment ruined the kitchen appliance, but the result was incredible. The new sole provided excellent grip while staying lightweight. That simple experiment became one of Nike's most important innovations and helped athletes perform better on the track. As Blue Ribbon Sports grew, another problem appeared. The company depended completely on Onitsuka Tiger for its products. If that partnership ended, the business could collapse overnight. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. The partnership broke apart, leaving Phil Knight with a difficult decision. He could either quit or build his own brand from scratch. It was a huge risk. Designing shoes, building factories, and creating a new identity required money the company didn't have. But Phil chose to take the risk. In 1971, the company introduced a new name, Nike, inspired by the Greek goddess of victory. Now, Nike needed a logo. Phil hired a graphic design student named Carolyn Davidson. She created several ideas, but one simple curved checkmark stood out. Phil wasn't completely impressed at first. He reportedly said, "I don't love it, but maybe it will grow on me." He paid Carolyn only $35 for the design. No one imagined that this simple logo would one day become one of the most recognizable symbols in the world. With a new name and a new logo, Nike was finally ready to compete. But competing against giants like Adidas wasn't easy. The company needed something that would make people remember the brand forever. And soon, Nike would make a decision that would completely change the future of sports. Nike had finally become its own brand, but the journey was far from over. During the early 1980s, the company faced one of the biggest crises in its history. A new competitor, Reebok, became incredibly popular with its fitness and aerobics shoes. Within a few years, Reebok overtook Nike, and many people believed Nike's success was over. Sales dropped, profits declined, and warehouses were filled with unsold shoes. Investors lost confidence, and the future looked uncertain. Then, in 1984, Nike made a bold decision. It signed a young basketball player named Michael Jordan. At that time, Jordan wasn't a global superstar, and he actually preferred Adidas. But Nike believed he had the potential to become the greatest player of his generation. Instead of simply asking him to wear their shoes, Nike created an entirely new product line called Air Jordan. The gamble paid off beyond anyone's imagination. Air Jordan became an instant success, selling millions of pairs and changing the sneaker industry forever. Nike had survived its biggest challenge, but its greatest success was only just beginning.